Today's show is brought to you by Watson Marketing, and we go deep in how cognitive computing is reshaping the marketing business. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi, I'm Dan Costa, Editor-in-Chief of PCMag.com, and welcome to Fast Forward, part of an ongoing conversation about living in the future. Thanks so much for joining us today. My guest today is Mark Simpson, the Vice President of Offering Management for Watson Marketing. Mark, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks very much, Dan.
We're going to have a great conversation for you today. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about Watson, obviously, machine learning, and most importantly, how businesses are using these tools to better understand their customers, their partners, and how they operate their businesses. So let's jump right into it. IBM Watson, a lot of people have seen the commercials on TV. They know that Bob Dylan has something to do with this in some vague way. But how would you define Watson as a product?
Yeah, so Dan, Watson's a cognitive computing product, which can learn like humans. It learns, it understands, it reasons in the same way that humans do, and can be taught over time. So that computing can be applied into many different areas. People will have probably seen it apply to personal assistants, into analyzing lots of data, into the work we've done in cancer and various other industries. But essentially, it is a trusted advisor that we can give to humans that can take in masses of data and help them in the decisions that they make, augmenting their intelligence.
I think that's the phrase that I've struck on with a variety of people, is that it's not necessarily artificial intelligence, it's augmented intelligence. It works with humans to really help them do things that they wouldn't be able to do just with the brains that God gave us.
Yeah, that's the key differentiator we use within IBM. You know, a lot of companies have artificial intelligence, and what we're not trying to do with augmented intelligence is we're not trying to just replicate human intelligence or replace human intelligence. We're really trying to give that human a way to make better decisions through having more information. So really having an advisor sitting by their side that can help them in making smarter decisions or faster decisions depending on their situation.
So Watson itself, as you mentioned, it does need to be taught. It needs to be taught to perform in a variety of these different environments. How does that process work?
Yeah, I mean, as you would teach a human, really, you point Watson in the right direction and you give it data and information that it needs to ingest to be able to learn and understand and reason in the ways that it needs to do, and it continually learns. So, you know, Watson initially will make some wrong decisions as well, and it needs guiding in the right areas. But that's all part of the learning process. So, so really, you know, as a human would learn, you can think of it in the same way for Watson.
So you specialize in the marketing field. How is Watson applied to the field of marketing? Yeah,
I mean, Watson can be applied, or I see Watson applied in, say, three big ways. I mean, firstly, you can think of Watson as a set of computing APIs, which really anybody can have access to. So we see customers that will use those APIs for any number of reasons, whether that's looking at reaching customers in a different way. So if you take the example maybe of 1-800-Flowers, who have now a concierge service on their website called Gwyn, who you would interact with. Gwyn will ask you questions about what you're looking for, say, you're looking for a present, a gift for your mother, or and it will qualify those questions and keep asking you questions about maybe what the occasion is or what your mother's interested in, and it will then you know, start giving suggestions as to the right gifts to give your mother. So you can think of Watson in sort of very broad terms. The second way of thinking about it is in what we're trying to do with embedding Watson into our marketing platforms. So, and we think of that really in how can we save marketers time, and how can we make marketers make smarter decisions. And thirdly, you could look at Watson within the marketing platforms as a completely different way to interact with a marketing platform. So Watson, when we are embedding Watson as an assistant to the marketer, it can analyze and monitor campaigns on an ongoing basis. You can ask Watson questions about those campaigns and how those campaigns compare to each other, in order that you can make different and the right decisions in a faster way to take action on what you're seeing happen with the campaigns that you're running.
In this world of big data, where we are collecting so much information about our businesses and about our customers, that information overload seems like it's probably the biggest problem that marketers have. And you see them reaching for new dashboards all the time to try and make sense of all the information that's coming in. But just dashboards aren't enough, and dashboards in a lot of times aren't dynamic enough to really make sense of those oceans of information.
You're absolutely right, and I think as well, if you layer onto that 80% of the world's data about customers and data generally is unstructured. And how a human can get its head around sort of unstructured data at that sort of scale and that sort of quantity is very hard to imagine. So you can think of it across many industries. In marketing, what people are saying on social media, in healthcare, what doctors' notes that are being written, and many other applications in other industries. Being able to take in that unstructured data, being able to make sense of that unstructured data, just gives individuals and in this case marketers, the trusted advisor they need to start making much smarter decisions.
So can you give us, you mentioned 800 Flowers, can you give us other examples of how Watson's being used to sort of make sense of these data sets?
Yeah, so in marketing, maybe another couple of examples. So we have partnered with Staples with their easy buttons. A lot of people have seen the easy buttons where you just press the button to order more pencils or whatever you're short of at the time. But Watson is partnered with Staples to help enable and help power that. So whether you're short on supplies and you press the easy button, or whether you go into an app on your phone, or whether you use Facebook Messenger or Slack bots or what have you to order new supplies through Staples, Watson will make sense of what you're doing, and it will enable that. It can also start predicting your needs as well. So there's different applications. We've also worked very closely with the North Face, who again have a similar assistant to Gwyn with 1-800-Flowers. When you can talk to the North Face website through your phone or on your computer, you can also type and interact with it. But you can tell the North Face about your next trip. Say you're, hiking in the Himalayas in September, and the North Face can go off and look up the location, find out the conditions there, and it can come back and make recommendations around the gear that you're going to need to have a more pleasant trip. So
I think those are the two. There's an interesting transition that happens there. The North Face is a great example because in some ways it's a conversational interface that's powered with AI, that's very natural, where you're just giving it a little bit of information. But then there's this massive data analytics back end where it takes this unstructured data and then turns it around and makes actionable recommendations for you.
Yeah, and look, the understanding human language is not an easy thing, which is kind of the first stage when you're interacting, even through speech or text or however, and then you have the masses of data behind it, looking up location and weather conditions and and matching that against product categories and SKUs and those sorts of things. But it's a really exciting way of shopping compared to going onto a website and clicking on category pages and looking through lists and trying to use filters. It's a much more enjoyable way of shopping.
Mm-hmm. There's it seems to me that brings us to that concept of cognitive commerce, where you've got a cognitive computer that's enabling commerce transactions up and down the funnel.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, Staples is a great example of that. Trying to predict when somebody is getting short of supplies based on the history of consumption, and enabling that ordering process to happen however someone needs and wherever they are, and have that sort of more immediate and just in time sort of fulfillment. It's it is changing commerce significantly. Yes.
So how hard is it for a company to get started with Watson? These are pretty sophisticated concepts. You can imagine Staples has got a team of people working on this. IBM, obviously, a very large company. How hard is it for a retailer to spin this up?
Yeah, if you look across not just retail as well, it's accessible to anyone. But there are obviously certain skills that you need to be able to develop products around it. But the Watson APIs are open to everyone, and we've seen teenagers using it to build some really cool apps like fighting parking tickets, right the way through to very large enterprises using it to augment and then sometimes replace their own AI. So really there's a huge scale of use cases there.
How can Watson help you fight a parking ticket?
It's fantastic. I can provide the link for the audience afterwards. Yeah. So, but it's a fantastic way of looking at the parking ticket and looking at all the parameters around it and how to maybe fight that parking ticket in how you're interacting back to that particular authority. It's And as I say, developed by a teenager, it's absolutely phenomenal. The success rates as well are much higher than they are if you use humans to do it.
If you stand in line and go to the courthouse.
Exactly right.
It's very good. And I think that another key thing is that the ability to make sense of unstructured data. Like once you've got a structured data set, it's relatively easy to do some analysis and be able to do some visualizations and so forth, but Watson's ability to make sense of unstructured data is one of the things I think that sets it apart.
Yes, absolutely. So in marketing, if you look at a couple of the key trends that are happening in marketing at the moment, I mean, one is there's an explosion of data. I think we're projected to have about 20 times the amount of data by 2020, which is only 2.5 years away, and that's a huge amount more data. But as you say, the shape of that data is changing. As customers start revealing themselves less, they're actively going out the way to give brands less of their information, and technology sort of advanced to enable that as well. A lot more of that data is really about behavior and trying to extract intent from individuals' behavior. And a lot of that data is completely unstructured. So I think the older sort of CRM style of marketing, while it has its uses, is going to become less and less effective. And we need to find new ways to pull out that intent and use that to market to individuals better.
How long will it be before this becomes a proactive process where the tools actually know more about your future needs and your future wants than you may even know about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think in simple cases it has already. There are many cases where you can see that, from my want as a marketer, when I go into our analytics platform, I want to look at a campaign, I want to see if there are any problems with it or anything like that. And Watson's actively pushing that to me as an individual now. I think there are varying degrees of that as you go through different industries and down to a personal level as well. So it's a hard question to answer, but I think that is already happening at the moment. And really, I think, look, we're at the very early stages of cognitive computing. I think the exciting thing is where it can take us when you look forward, because I think the future, it's very hard to sort of fathom all the effects that cognitive computing can have. Yeah,
let's ruminate a little bit on that future in just a second. I think we've got a question from the audience. If you've got a question, by the way, let us know in the Facebook comment section. If you're watching this on YouTube or after we've recorded it, don't bother asking a question because we will not be able to answer it.
We've got a viewer who wants to know, what's the latest innovation in the field? Like, what are you most excited about?
Yeah, that's a good question, because the field is moving so fast all the time, and I think you're seeing new innovations pop up all over the place. I think that, I mean, for me, some of the work we're doing in cancer and cancer care is really phenomenal, and you look at those applications of curing disease and helping people who are suffering, and I think that those are the elements which I think you really sort of stand by this and think this is just a phenomenal piece of technology and computing that we really need to grasp with both hands. So I think there are many different uses across many different industries.
Can you think of an industry that's not going to be transformed by either cognitive computing or artificial intelligence? Because we're seeing it being used in marketing applications, we're seeing it being used in transportation applications, commerce applications. It seems like it's one of those fundamental technologies that disrupts everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think the exciting thing is it's hard to imagine an industry that won't be affected. I think if you see the examples that are in the industries at the moment, we've partnered with H&R Block for tax advice and to file your tax returns, taking into account all the changes in tax laws, over the last 12 months, and being able to help H&R Block's tax advisors make better decisions and save their clients more money. And you move that to some of the work we're doing maybe with Coney, who produce elevators and escalators, and partnering with our Internet of Things business, to enable elevators to be fixed really in real time and before they go wrong. I mean, no one likes getting stuck in an elevator, right? So it's really exciting, the different areas in which it can be applied. One of the applications I saw the other day was with Whirlpool, where the washing machine with Watson embedded in it is able to speak to the tumble dryer to advise the dryer of how long the drying cycle should be. which sounds really small and obvious, but if you get the drying time right, how much energy that can save across the globe, it gets really exciting, the scale of some of the problems. So
small efficiencies at scale can make huge differences.
Exactly.
That's pretty fascinating. And it's always interesting to see these like super sophisticated high-end technologies come down to that most prosaic level of, you know what, you're going to spend less money on your electric bill because your washing machine's going to be more efficient.
Absolutely, yeah. Your washing machine's going to be more efficient, and hopefully you'll get better customer service because your washing machine can speak to the customer service operative and they can know what's going wrong and send the right parts with the engineer to fix it.
Very cool. So I want to move to the questions I ask all my guests, a little bit about the future. What technological trend are you most concerned about? What keeps you up at night?
Yeah, it's hard to keep me up at night. I sleep quite well. I'm a fairly sort of positive person, but I think when you look at all sort of technology evolution, I think the thing that most concerns me is that the way in which it's being used, and the concerns are in when it's being used in an unethical way, particularly with the pace of technology advancing. You know, I think it's very important that we do as much as we can to use it ethically, and I think that we do as much as we can also to nullify the unethical uses of these technologies too. So I think that's probably, if I were looking at one, or the biggest overarching area, I would pick that area.
Do you think that individual companies should take that on themselves as they're developing technologies and products to think about the consequences of these technologies before they bring them to market?
I think it's the responsibility of everyone.
Yeah. We've got another question from the audience.
Is Watson going to be used for medicine or law?
There are already applications of Watson through medicine. I mentioned sort of cancer, the work we're doing with cancer care, and that will go broader as well. So Watson can ingest doctor's notes. It can analyze the thousands of medical journals that are produced every single day to sit there as an advisor. Remember, we are advising the doctor on decisions that they need to make. So it's not that Watson is going to take over, it's really Watson is going to work alongside in medicine. Equally in law, I absolutely can see that Watson will sit alongside lawyers and those in the legal profession to enable them to make better decisions, yes.
Yeah, and we've seen that issue of augmentation play out specifically with Watson, where Watson can beat a grand chess master, but a chess master using Watson to assist it can actually be even more powerful and even more effective in the game of chess.
Yeah, and look, that's our ethos through everything we do, as we say, augmented intelligence rather than artificial.
So since you're a positive person, on the upside, what are you most optimistic about? What are you most hopeful about?
Look, as you can see, I get very enthused by AI, and it's hard not to be really enthused by that. I think there are a few sort of big events that happen through people's lives, and I think AI is one of those big events. And when you look at the application of AI, and when you look at the application of cognitive technologies, there are endless limits. It's hard to fathom where it's going to reach to. So I think that thinking about how we can apply that in a better way, how we can help people more by using cognitive computing is a really exciting area. If I look at sort of, I know you always ask about sort of people's favorite apps. If I look at sort of my life over the last 40 or so years, there are some big major events that happen through it, which kind of excite you, and you use devices or whatever it is, and you think when the PC really sort of becoming mainstream is one, when the smartphone launched only 10 years ago is another, and I think AI is another one of those. And I look at the work we're doing, now I have a couple of small kids, the work we're doing with companies like Sesame Street, who've had 45 years working with kids, and we're building apps to help children's learning. And I know, it's come up to school holidays. I know my wife will be keen on finding new ways to entertain and educate the kids through school holidays. But the work we're doing there, I think, is really exciting.
Yeah, there's a generation of kids, and I think it's because our generation is of the proper age where we're invested in these technologies in a new way, and we want to, the same way I was left at home in front of the TV. That's not going to happen with this new generation. They're going to have software tools that help them learn on every screen that they carry.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd love to get my eldest away from the TV more, and you can already see that shift. You can already see the shift to the iPad and the computer to investigate and find out more. I think it's think it's an exciting future.
So if you had one app or a product or service that you would have to point to and say, this thing changed my life, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, I look at, as I say, there are some major events that have happened, I think. You look when I was young, getting our first computer in the house, you look at the smartphone and having, everything at your fingertips wherever you are is another one of those. And as I say, AI being one where I think it can really sort of take that to another level as well. So, I think through people's lives, there are some really major ones where you will continually find that you get new sort of new opportunities to rely on something that is really big. I think AI is probably the next revolution.
All right. And if people want to follow what you're doing, what IBM is doing, what Watson is up to these days, how can they find you online?
So I'm on LinkedIn with the LinkedIn URL and Mark J. Simpson, and I'm on Twitter. I have a new Twitter account, actually. My last one I can't get hold of.
You lost your Twitter account?
I did lose my Twitter account. It wasn't bad behavior, no, nothing to do with that. I lost the passwords and the email address. It was weird. So my new Twitter account, SIMMOMJ.
All right, we'll try and get you some followers to sort of ramp it up quickly.
Exactly, it'll be a help.
All right. That is Fast Forward for today. I want to thank you for joining us. We're going to be back next week with a brand new episode. If you want to listen to old episodes of Fast Forward, you can find them on PCMag.com. You can find them on iTunes. You can find them on Google Play. If you like what you heard today, please give us a review and a rating. We always appreciate those. Thanks so much for stopping by. Mark, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Dan.
And we'll be back next week. I'll see you in the future. Today's show is brought to you by Watson Marketing, and we go deep into how cognitive computing is reshaping the marketing business.